Okay, we're moving a level up here. We've got an extra level of difficulty because you'll see there's a minus sign in front of the x squared. The form we're asked to put it in looks a little bit different too, but we've still got the basic squared bracket, okay, and we've got this number. So this is essentially the same as we've been doing, except I've got a minus sign. If I've got a minus sign or a number in front of the x squared, I've got to deal with that before I do anything else, because when I square out my grid, I'm just going to get x squared. So I want x squared on its own. So I'm going to put big brackets around here. Inside the big brackets, I'm going to have a quadratic with just one x squared, which is what I want. So therefore, to make it equal to this, I'm going to have to put a minus outside the big bracket. And then I'm going to have to fill in the rest of the big bracket to make it equal to the expression that I want. So if I want plus 4x, what do I need inside the bracket? Well, I need a minus 4x, so that when it's multiplied by minus 1, it agrees with this. If I want to end up with a plus 1, I need to put a minus 1 inside the big bracket to be multiplied by this minus to generate that. So I deal with the minus by putting it outside a big bracket, and then inside the bracket is an expression with just one x squared, a plus x squared, and I know how to deal with this. So on the next line I'm going to have minus, I'm going to have the big brackets again, and I'm just going to focus on what I've got inside. Well, I know that I want a squared bracket. Okay, so I'm getting brackets within brackets, but the big brackets I'm forgetting about. I'm just thinking about the x squared minus 4x minus 1 and what I would do with that. So how would I get x squared minus 4x? Well, I need an x in my bracket. I've got a minus 4 in front of the x, so I halve that to get minus 2. And then I think, okay, this will give me a plus 4 I don't want, so it's always a minus here. Take away that number squared. So I've now dealt with the x squared minus 4x, but I mustn't forget about the minus 1. Put that in as well. And I'm nearly there. Now I need to, well, I can simplify my minus 4 minus 1 now, or I can multiply out by the minus. I'm going to do the second one. I'm going to do minus 1 times the bracket. So I just write minus and then the bracket. I don't try and do anything fancy. It's just whatever I've got here in front of the bracket. Don't try and multiply inside the bracket, because that will be wrong. And then minus 1 times the minus 4 is plus 4. And minus 1 times the minus 1 is plus 1. So my final answer is minus x minus 2 squared plus 5. Now if I look at the form they told me to put it in, they've got the number first and then take away the squared bracket, so I can do that with my answer. Okay, so instead of having minus the bracket plus 5, I can write my plus 5 and then minus the squared bracket. So minus x minus 2 squared. Okay, so I can see my q is plus 5, and they've done the sign for me here, so minus p, the number I take away, is just 2. So q equals 2, and I have my answer.